Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, we are here for episode 8 of Totally Us Unscripted.
Yes, we are back again.
We're back.
Back again.
All right. Well, as always, we're going to start off recognizing our Black business owner feature. And that is a person who is, I would say, very dear to Totally Us Unscripted.
Okay.
It's a person who's a stellar presenter, I would say,
Okay.
manager,
Okay.
and an effective communicator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a person who will care for all of your production needs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they specialize in project management, inspiring creativity,
Wow.
problem solving.
Person sounds very important.
Y'all. Strategic planning. Ooh.
Wow.
For finished products of businesses, events, visions, ministry. They do branding for projects.
Wow.
The list goes on and on. Music and media.
Whoa.
Graphic design and printing. I know I'm amping them up, y'all, but they're pretty dope. They're pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who it is? I do. Yeah.
Yeah, they do fashion and design production too as well. They just produce in all multi-purposes, in the marketplace.
Who is it?
Before it is none other than Sharita D. Cromell.
Wow.
Platinum Legacy Productions, y'all.
Wow.
Y'all, listen.
You better know it.
You better know it. She provides a prestigious, unlimited experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was me today. I see what we're doing. Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Wow. And you amped it up.
Yeah, really.
Very good.
Yeah.
You spoke of fashion design. Let me get let the people know. Now I can point you in the right direction. I can put small outfits together. Woo! But I don't know about fashion design.
Well, with the branding for your fashion and design, that's what I was talking about. Okay.
Girl, I had it because people come like, can I put their outfits together?
And that's a no-no.
No.
Well, we'll just go back to Fort Lauderdale where we went before.
Yes.
For our featured business owner.
Yes.
Yeah.
But thank you all for featuring my business.
Absolutely.
Platinum Legacy Productions.
Did y'all even know that she had a business?
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Were y'all aware?
Thank you, sister.
That she was also a business owner, not just the two of us?
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that we put it out
1, 2,
there.
3.
So glad that we put it out there.
Yes, out there.
And not just in Palm Beach County. Y'all don't even know she quietly moves. And she's in other states too as well.
Yes.
Get that.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for putting me out there. But I need to tell the people why we're here.
Okay.
All right. Let's go.
Why are we here?
Yes.
We are here again to inspire intentional living, but we also want to make connections. And so, here I come with another quote.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
This quote says, "Connection is why we're here.
Okay.
It is what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. The power that connection holds in our lives was confirmed when the main concern about connection emerged as the fear of disconnection."
Ooh, okay.
The fear that something we have done or failed to do, something about who we are or where we come from, has made us unlovable and unworthy of connection.
Wow.
Which is why we're here to inspire healthy, intentional living and make connections.
Oh, wow.
So
that's so good.
What's been
Thank
your
you.
inspiration with these
Thank
quotes?
you, Breen Brown.
Oh, yeah, she's pretty dope.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're not only here just to inspire intentional living, but we're making connections.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right.
So actually, I see what you did there.
I and I hear you.
Because today we're going to be talking about the connection between our mental health and our relationships. You are very clever. You are very clever.
That was good.
Very good. Very good. Very good. All right, so we're going to have a very interesting conversation tonight.
Yes.
And I want to start off by saying that the state of our mental health begins very early. The state of our mental health begins very early. It doesn't begin when we start elementary school. It doesn't begin when we start junior high school. Our mental health development, or the state or the condition of it, begins from the moment that we arrive here. Okay. And so tonight we're going to be talking about different attachment styles and how those attachment styles impacts the relationships that we are able or unable to cultivate as adults. All right. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. So the first attachment style that I want to talk about is the anxious attachment style. And so remember I said the state of our mental health begins early. Right. So what does it mean, or what does it look like to be raised by an anxious parent or caregiver?
Okay.
So that means that sometimes they respond and sometimes they don't respond. Okay. And so what ends up happening is that person now, when they're in a relationship, they have this strong fear of abandonment and rejection, right? Because they didn't have the safety of that consistent child, that consistent parent or caregiver. Right. So when they land in relationships now, they are very, very concerned about, will this person stay or will they leave? Right. So they become hyper vigilant around the threat of this person leaving them. And they are always craving validation within the relationship. So like, tell me that you love me. Do you love me? You know, over and over and over again, you see that play out. Okay. Wow. And so because of that now in the relationship, they prioritize the need of their partner above their own. Okay. All right. They also can be seen as being like jealous and suspicious about their partner's actions. Okay. All right. Also clingy and a poor sense of boundaries you might see in this person. And then lastly, they normally have like a difficult time expressing intense emotions.
Because they're already anxious.
Because they're anxious, exactly. So they're trying to manage the overwhelming feelings of their emotions while trying to make sure that the person is not going to leave them. Right. So
because they probably, when they were growing up, had the fear of experience a lot of rejection. Yep. Too, with their family, with their parents or whomever. So all right, I'm following tonight.
So the attachment is pretty much based on their experience.
Yes, so that's why, again, the state of our mental health begins early. So it begins with how that significant person, people that we were around, how did they attach to us? So their attachment to us was that sometimes they responded, sometimes they didn't. So you walk into that situation not knowing how this person is going to respond, but like, I need your attention, see me, hey, here I am.
And they need to be validated.
Exactly. Exactly.
And now, just a question for me, could that be a parent and a child, or is this just like friends or everybody?
It starts out early.
Yeah.
I guess as you said, it starts out early. And then it segues into all of your other relationships.
Right. So is that why sometimes I'm going to bring the educator in me out now?
Yes.
Is that why sometimes you have parents who can't really, they're very attached to their children. So their children become like their best friend, like in a different unhealthy kind of way?
Well,
so that's not, I wouldn't say that. But I would say that the parent is inconsistent. That's how I would put it.
Okay.
They're more inconsistent in the way that they are relating to their child. So it's like you don't necessarily know what to expect. Like one day they may be attentive, and then the other day they may be not attentive. Yeah.
So the child themselves become actually anxious.
Yeah,
you know,
because they don't
they
know.
don't know
Right.
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
They don't know what parent they gonna get that day.
Right.
Exactly.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
And so
So even so, I guess with us and myself too in education, like that's why we see them, sometimes being clingy to us as well,
Okay.
because they're not getting that at home, or they've
Right.
been getting the rejection and stuff at home.
Got it.
So
so they got to hold on to
whatever they
have, right? And so this kind of goes back into what we talked about last week about breaking up and how hard and difficult that is for some people, right? Because breaking up then would mean that definitely they were rejected or that they were abandoned. Right.
Yeah.
So the anxious attachment style, and the purpose, I think one of the purposes of this conversation is for us to kind of see ourselves, like what type of style do I show up with in my relationships? And knowing that it's not permanent, like it doesn't have to stay that way. We can change, right? Our styles or our way of being, especially when we're around more healthy people that have like secure attachments.
Right.
So this is not like doom and gloom. Oh, I have a anxious attachment style, so I can't change it. No, that's not what we're saying.
Right.
But it is important to be aware of your style so that you can know how it might play out in your relationships.
That's true. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. This is good.
Okay. All right. So any other thoughts about anxious attachment?
No, I think
No?
that was good.
That was good.
The education system.
Yeah. What? What was that?
But it helped to shed and bring some light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or why some children are clingy even at school.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so then we have the avoidant attachment style. Okay. And so with the avoidant attachment style, the message here is that people are not dependable. And so these are like parents who are unavailable, they're dismissive, they minimize your feelings, and are not really catering to your needs. So then that child becomes super independent. Like they know that they can only rely on themselves. And so we now see that in their adult relationships where they are super, super independent. And when they sense that relationships are getting close and intimate, they shut it down or they run away from it. Like it's like you want it, but when you're getting it, like you don't know what to do with it because you're so used to being independent that you run away from it.
Wow.
Right. So these are like people that will sabotage their relationships.
Got it.
Right. Because it should feel good, but it doesn't. Right. The closeness should feel good, but it doesn't feel good. It's triggering for them. Okay. So they kind of turn and run in the opposite direction.
Wow. What type of people do you all think that they attract? The people who are avoided and dismissive in attachment?
I would think people who don't mind being by themselves. Okay. They definitely attract people who kind of secluded, but kind of like them. Here, but I'm going to run after a while.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Let me say that. But what I do know is that avoidant people are usually highly successful people because they're super independent. So they're normally driven, right? They're driven, and they may have a lot of people around them. They might be the life of the party, but it's usually surface level.
I was asking that because we were just talking about the anxious person, and I was thinking like, well, maybe the anxious person probably gravitates to that type of person because they deal with that rejection and stuff like that, and the loneliness, maybe here and there. I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, we can't really categorize it, but we look at a lot of maybe only children sometimes as being avoided.
Ooh, okay.
That's
that was
a good connection there because because they kind of have to be, right? To a certain extent.
Yeah, they do.
You know, if there's nobody else kind of there, then you have to figure out or fend for yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of, maybe depending on how it is that parent or significant caregiver responds to them, because if they're attentive and meet their needs, then no, not necessarily. You know what I mean? Okay. But yeah, I would see that child could be
because I've seen some. I mean, I'm an only child, let me say this. I don't feel like I'm avoiding. I don't feel like I'm avoiding, but I know some other only children who they didn't, have like the family I had. We were a little closer, but when they don't have that support system and it is just them, and then I deal with kids like that too, they are definitely a different type of personality. And they gonna give you surface level of everything, but they are driven, very task driven. Very task driven. Yeah. And it keeps them going because that's where they find their comfort.
Right.
In the task.
Yeah, yeah. So don't give me people, give me tasks.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. You was gonna say something?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Got it. All right. Yeah. And so right. So avoidant, and this is the last thing I guess I'm gonna say, but avoidant individuals as adults, they lack usually emotional closeness. And so normally they tend to suppress their own feelings. And whenever something gets too emotionally intense, they run away from it. So like, think about that. Like, think about being in a relationship with that type of person. And how I would estimate how frustrating that might feel for their partner.
Right.
Because it's like, everything is good, like we get along okay, but then as soon as like love get involved or expressions and things like that, then it's like, oh, I gotta run. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah. Okay. So they're the flighters.
Possibly, yes. They run for the hills. Okay. They run for the hills.
Because they don't want to get too caught up, and then they have to feel what they feel.
Correct.
Right.
So these are the non-fillers.
Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want to feel what it feels like to be close or to be connected on that level.
Right.
And sometimes it's because we don't have that frame of reference. It's not even so much because a person can't feel it. I always say that people don't fear like the actual experience, they fear the feeling.
Okay.
Right? They don't want to feel whatever comes along with that. So
because there's a responsibility with those feelings too as well.
Right.
Okay.
And it requires you, once you feel them, to put in more work to understand what you're feeling and work on.
Yeah.
So that's how to keep it going. So and so for so long you suppress them for so long. So now it causes me to actually put action into it.
Right.
Okay.
Or I'm used to feeling these feelings by myself. And so if I'm feeling it by myself, then I can manage it by myself.
Right.
But now when I'm in relationships with people, now y'all want me to feel this in front of you?
Exactly.
Right. And
respond and react. Exactly.
And then they worry about how others are going to respond to them.
Right. Because
that's a fear within them too as well. So.
And the response may be shaky, and they don't know how people are going to react to their response.
Right.
Because sometimes our responses, I don't know about this, but the responses of the avoidant seem to be a little shaky. And you as a person dealing with that avoidant person have to know how to respond to those type of people.
Right.
That gets you a little worked
and
up.
Even though they may attract those people who have been rejected, they don't like experiencing rejection themselves.
Right.
Because like we said, they're driven type of people and they're always, making it happen or what have you. So when something is there,
it doesn't do well for them.
Doesn't do well at all.
So it's like wanting something and desiring something, but then when you get it, you don't know what to do with it.
Right. That was good.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, can't we think of like people like that though?
Yeah.
Like that they want to be in relationship,
Yeah.
but do everything within their power to sabotage.
Sabotage.
And it's just like,
and sometimes kind of aggravating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Because
you
you want them to
on
have
the
it.
other side, you want them to have it.
Yeah.
You want them to experience what you've experienced, but they won't open themselves up to.
And they take flight.
Yeah.
Which can cause the person that's dealing with them want to take flight.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, you don't want to deal with that stuff over and over and over.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
After you have exhausted everything, you're like, okay.
I mean, we talking about family too now. Don't get us wrong. We talking about family, friends.
Yes.
You want co-workers.
Yeah.
You know, think of somebody. Write their name down on paper.
3
names of people that you know maybe
Talking about community
exhibiting
in general.
exhibiting some of these attachment styles.
Yeah.
It may be you.
Absolutely.
Because I'm trying to see if I
trying
make
to
all
see
of this.
yourself.
Yeah. I'm over here processing.
Yeah,
right,
I'm over here
right.
processing and analyzing
Yeah.
myself too.
Me.
So
Absolutely.
that's why I'm a little.
It's avoiding anything.
Let's see
see
what work I need
yeah,
to do.
let me see now.
Oh, I already know.
Let me
Man. For
see.
me. Yeah. Oh gosh.
All right.
And so one more attachment style. This is, I think, I would say the most complicated. And it's called disorganized attachment style.
Okay.
And it sounds just like it sounds, like disorganized, meaning that growing up, this child was probably exposed to unstable or ambiguous type of behaviors from their persons or people, right? And so this is when like it's so confusing. Whenever I think of disorganized attachment, I just think of confusion. So let's say a child is starting kindergarten and they are sad and they cry because, of course, that's what kids do. And then a parent turns around and yells at them for crying. Like,
I'm confused.
what? Yeah, I'm confused.
Right.
I think I'm giving a natural response. And then you're going to like yell at me for giving a natural response, right? So it's like super disorganized, not knowing what. So put it this way. For a avoidant or an anxious child, they know they're going to get one or the other. Right. But for the disorganized, you have no frame of reference. Like they could just be whoever that day. Dr. Jekyll,
you
Mr.
never
Hyde,
know what you're gonna get,
right? And that's really like where like fear comes in because like that child like literally
doesn't know what
fears
to
that
expect at all.
Yeah. So we see this like in abusive type of situations, alcoholic parents, drug addicted parents, things like that, where you just don't know what type of person you're gonna get for that day.
I can imagine that can cause a lot of confusion for children, especially who don't understand.
Right.
And even for adults, because sometimes you don't understand another adult.
Absolutely.
But you're like, wait, what is that?
Right.
Where did that come from? Because that's not even what your intention. And then they read stuff wrong. The disorganized person that's kind of all over the place. They can't read realness.
That's true.
They can't read if you really genuinely asking them a question. They done flew off the deep end.
Right. Yeah, because and there's this need for attention, but the response is normally fear, because their parents weren't dependable. They was super inconsistent in their behaviors towards them. So it's like this fear of how are they going to react? How are they going to respond? And so think about like being in a relationship with somebody and you have to have a difficult conversation with them, but you were raised up in this kind of disorganized space. You're not going to have the tendency to want to have the conversation because you fear how they're going to respond back to you. Right? How are they going to like relate to me? Is it going to blow up? Is it going to be explosive? Right. So a lot of people won't even enter into those difficult conversations out of fear of how the other person is going to respond back.
Right. Okay. So then it creates fear in the one, the recipient or the respondent. Yeah. What up? Somebody gonna be scared.
So I have a question.
Yes,
So on the flip side of that,
yeah.
of a person being, raised in a disorganized family environment, what if, okay, so when a person is raised in, we would generally say a very good, family environment or what have you, can the attachment be a bit too much of closeness? Can you be too close, too close to your family? You feel
So the other style, number 4, is the secure attachment, right?
okay.
And so the secure attachment is when a parent or caregiver is in tuned with you emotionally. So they're able to effectively respond to you emotionally. But to your point, there is something called enmeshment, where you can't tell the mama from the daughter. You can't tell the daddy from the son. Like, everybody's just in everybody's business.
Right.
I can't make a decision without you. I got to consult with you about everything. I have no sense of my own independent identity. So yes, that is definitely a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So brings me then to my next question. And I know we just talked about it last episode about, it being too hard to break up. What if a person is too attached, as we just said before, to their family in an enmeshment? How do you break up with somebody like that, or should you even break up with somebody like that? Like, could that be like a deal breaker with breaking up with someone who is too close to their family in male-female relationship?
So is the question?
Because they're too attached to their family,
Okay.
and kind of like you said, they can't make a decision without the mama, the daddy, the sister, maybe the cousin, or what have you. And you're in relationship. Like, is it too? Can it be too much and get to a point where I don't even want to be in relationship with you because I'm really in relationship with you, with your mama, your daddy, and everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's worth a conversation. It's worth a conversation to see, number one, if they even realize it. Because if that's just their family's way of being, that's just their way of being.
Because you have to learn. Because sometimes you have to learn a new way. Right. And that's and we can go friendships too as well. Because sometimes we want to have friends, outside, but you can be too attached. And people like, okay, all right.
Yeah. There's no room.
There's no room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I had a thought.
And it left. That's all right.
And I'll come back.
Yeah. So no, I think it's worth a conversation to be like, do you notice that this is happening?
Okay.
That you can't like make a decision without consulting with, your mama, your uncle, all of them. And also recognizing how does that impact your relationship with them.
Okay.
Right. And being able to communicate that effectively. I think that's important. But yeah, enmeshment is definitely one of those family traits that we see a lot.
Yes.
Yes. And some people don't see anything wrong with it, but
but now you all have a term for it, right?
Term.
You can define.
You learn something new every week. What we say, enmeshment.
So that's a takeaway right there.
Put it on your nose. Now, how you spell it? Enmeshment. Oh my God. So we have some final things for the audience today. You need to look and think about which attachment style you are, because all of us probably have a piece of this.
Right? Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I am avoidant all day long. For sure.
So I guess no one.
I really think I'm in that category, but
well, I guess
I'm getting better.
Like you said, knowing what style you are and knowing which one you actually attract.
Right.
That can become an issue of concern too.
And how it deals with their mental health.
Right.
Because you think you're all right, but you was anxious, you avoidant, you are disorganized, and you in enmeshment. And we definitely want to thank everyone for coming tonight. And any other things before we go, ladies?
No, just know your attachment style.
Know your style.
Know where you at.
Mm-hmm. Know who you attached to.
We'll see you guys next Tuesday, ready and waiting for our next episode. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you.